Hey guys, hey, hello. Good. Who'd have expected you here? It's Thursday. It's November 18th. It's 2010. It is day 9, daily number 220. Do a little dance. 222, of course, will be the lucky number. I don't know if you guys have ever done this when you're growing up, where if it's like 111, you make a wish, or 222, you make a wish, or 333, you make a wish. It's a really, really great way to be lonely at exactly 5 times during the day. 111, 222, 333. At least that was the case for me in 8th grade. Oh my god, I had the biggest crush. And that's when I learned about that at 111, make a wish. And every time it would be 111, I'd be like, I hope she likes me. It was super effective. Anyways, everything is exciting right now because today was awesome. Had a very smashing day. Had some delicious coffee. Had a bowl of vegetables. And there is now an official Day 9 Facebook fan page. Boom. You can find it, unsurprisingly, at facebook.com/day9tv. What's exciting about this is, first of all, I have control over it, so when I say things, they will appear there. Yes. Also, whenever a video is uploaded to Blip, it immediately pops up on the queue. So that way, while you're trying to stalk that girl you had a crush on in 8th grade and wished for at 111, 222, 333, while you're busy doing that, boink, right up in the newsfeed pops the video. Da-flam! You don't have to wait around in F5, the archives all day. It will just let you know. Fist pumping. So once again, facebook.com/day9tv. Hope to have at least 20 million fans there by the end of the episode. And exciting news, I think many of you know that I'm at the USC Interactive Media Program, and one of my classmates by the name of Jacob, I won't actually say his last name on air because I value people's privacy, he made a game in Starcraft that was an experiment in a one-button game. I think it's called One Button Mayhem. There you go, One Button Mayhem. Go look it up on these map settings, and you should play it because it's kind of cool. Again, it's an experiment in exactly one mouse button. It's pretty fun, actually. In other exciting news, bam! DreamHack. Yeah, I want to like make it look cool, like it's an actual logo. Sometimes I just want to like rest my arms on my overlays. But yeah, as you can see, DreamHack is going to be coming up soon. I'm going to be there. It's going to be awesome. Not only am I covering all their tournament action, which you can follow at www.day9.tv, but it will also be up all in the archives. And if you get on the Facebook fan page, you'll find out when they pop up on the archives. And last but not least, I am bringing a videographer with me to do filming, editing, and uploading of behind-the-scenes content so you can see Day 9 in his natural habitat, Day 9 sleeping, Day 9 snuggling Manfred, Day 9 eating a lot of salami. That was one of the best parts about my trip to Cologne, is the salami for breakfast. Oh my gosh, normally I have like cereal. Actually, normally I have coffee and vegetables for breakfast. That's what I almost exclusively have for breakfast. So the idea of bread and extremely tasty meat, magnifique. In exciting, super giga baller, badass, mega cool news, Jinro, the sexy Swede. The topic of today's daily, because as you know, Jinro is a huge badass and has also been one of my longest time friends in the history of Starcraft. He's one of those few people you meet where you're just like, everything about you is awesome. He was the moderator on the Team Liquid forums. He's so nice. Oh my god, is he nice. People would be saying the most awful racial offensive things, which of course I'm not going to go ahead and say on air. I'm just going to let you do your imagination. Now imagine it, you have the horrible thing in your mind that not even I want to say. Jinro would ban people like this for like 2 days and then get in the admin forums and be like, was I too harsh? You know, he just wants to make sure he doesn't step on any toes unnecessarily. Maybe he was angry and just had an outburst. Unbelievably kind guy, and especially one of the coolest things from a pro gaming perspective is that he's great at interviewing. Oh my god, have you guys seen some of those GOM TV Star League interviews? Artosis is up there, and Artosis is like, you have just defeated one of the best players in the world with a strategy we've never seen before. How did you feel about it, and what was going through your mind during that win? And the kid's just like, it was good. And then he stares at the camera. And Artosis is like, unbelievable! And the kid's like, sometimes. Like, I could not believe the complete lack of willingness to be like, hey, community, this is what up. But Jinro, no way, that guy's the man. He makes life easy, especially if you're someone who holds a mic a lot and is like blabbing, and you just go and throw it to him. He's so cool. And of course, last but not least, even in the Brood War days, but especially now, Jinro is known for playing his own style. I don't want to say unorthodox like the little one. I don't want to say super solid like Idra. I want to say that he is somewhere in between there where it's like he does his own thing and it's just really strong. It's a mix of Solid, good, straightforward play, plus chunks of things where he's just saying, no, this has to be good. This seems good here. I like this. For example, in Terran vs. Zerg, we saw at MLG, he did this to Ret. Liquid Jinro went for extremely fast stim. I'm talking racks, gas, tech lab. Stim is the first upgrade coming out of that barracks, getting Marines, and then adding on barracks. Sure, he eventually gets the same look of Marines and tanks and medevacs, but no, he rushes for stim. So it's a weird mix of his own thing, the really fast stim timing, plus that really common Marine tank thing. Makes him so fun to watch, because you're always going to learn something that you're like, hey, I kind of recognize this, but has a fresh twist on it. But of course, we're not just having Jinro do his own work of magic, we're having him against We Made Fox today, and not We Made Fox, We Made Fox's Moon, and if any of you have ever even heard of Warcraft 3, then I'm certain you've heard of Moon, who's one of the most infamous players of that game of all time, and he's playing Starcraft 2 now, so this is a game between them, a Zerg vs. Terran on Jungle Basin, or Jungle Basin, which I suppose at least some person out there pronounces it that way. Let's go ahead and open up our production tab. By the way, I got this replay. You can find it at sc2rep.com or alternatively teamliquid.net. I even think SC2 Replayed had it for a little while. But just want to let you know where to go to get Jinro. Oh, gosh. Oh, that's so awesome. You know, part of me used to be upset about that. Part of me used to go, oh my god, I wasn't busy. How embarrassing. But two things happened. One, I embarrassed myself so often I got used to it. But two, the StarCraft community is so freaking nice, man. You guys are freaking awesome. Yeah, I'm going to make a StarCraft community fan page for you guys, and it's just going to be me posting in there. I'm like, yeah, you guys are awesome. Seriously, look at this. They're just like, excuse me, it would be a good consideration to make yourself busy. They're not like, you know, saying things that would get you temp banned for 2 days by Jinro. And so big thanks to that fine gentleman. We'll give him a shout out. He was Wowgigas. Jesus, choose a harder to pronounce name, please. Oh man, but again, I'm used to embarrassing myself and I'm comfortable with it. So anyways, Jinro spawning in the bottom left of Jungle Basin. You'll notice I haven't sped up yet. There's lots of cool stuff to discuss on the map Jungle Basin. We have Liberty, a.k.a. We Made Fox's Moon. In the top left corner is the blue Zerg. There is the Extractor Trickery. There is the Overlord and more such dronage coming out. Now the big thing that of course I want to point out is one, easy to defend choke, tight ramp, small ramp, not like Scrap Station that's nice and wide and fat. No, nice and tiny. Here we have a backdoor expansion. There are destructible rocks here, but I pause this because I want to note the difference between this little structure and Blistering Sands. Now, Blistering Sands, you'll hear me say this a lot. The distance between the back door rocks on Blistering Sands and the front door of your natural is small. It's about this much on the minimap, right? It's but for the defender to run to the front to defend you and then to have to run all the way to the back is a huge distance. You can see my wiggling arm, my complete freakish nervous wreck arm, just having to move way farther. So the attacker has the advantage. On this map, it's the exact opposite. Defender has the advantage. We're going to compare the obvious. Look from here to zoink there. Not very long. Shoink. But if we want to be the attacker, ta-da! So this is not actually the biggest deal in terms of any early aggression. What this actually really affects is late game. Anytime there's this, oh, the defender has the advantage. Well, he has the advantage on two bases. Once you get very far into the game, having multiple attack paths that are vulnerable is a big deal. So definitely these destructible rocks are huge. Because, I mean, if Terran's expanding here, he has to worry about an attack here, a swing around attack here that might go into the main. And he has to worry about the back door. And the back door, again, from here all the way out to this middle area is a lot longer, especially if you are not expecting it. Either way, Liquid Jinrovioso is going ahead and getting his orbital command. Jinrovioli is making a mariner. He will be now throwing down a depot. Often players will do this where they build their first depot way back here, nice and neatly tucked away, so it's good economically. But then later on, they will go and wall off their front. Just general sort of good timing. We don't see any sort of fast stuff coming out. Liberty, a.k.a. We Made Fox's Moon. I'm pretty sure that's actually correct. I know that he had a lot of, there was a lot of talk about that over at Team Liquid because of a replay that was released recently. But part of me just is having minor doubt. Allow me to dispel my doubts as we look at this spawning pool build, and I go over here, and yes, by the way, you can go to sc2rep.com for that. That's actually where I just looked it up. Yes, it is Moon. Great, cool. Anyways, we do have the 2 queens coming out for Liberty. Note that this gas doesn't actually need to be so quick because there's no real exploits in terms of tech. There's some space back here for a Banshee, but notice that a queen can hit it everywhere, so there's not that much concern, especially here. It's probably the biggest vulnerability because you can come in from the right, but there's no cliffs. There's none of that business. Very easy, very free, very fluid, close, tight positions for Zergy to defend. Mariners moving out from Jinro. Such a good tactic, such a good technique. This is something that sort of springs forth after long times of development of the game. Long time of development, we start to realize, well, hey, I'm not actually so vulnerable with 3 Marines. I can actually move out kind of early. This sort of stuff doesn't happen for a long time. It takes a while for gamers to sort of flesh that understanding out. Now, I wanted to say something that I may have mentioned earlier, but still want to reemphasize. This is a cold analysis. Have never seen this game at all. At all. So, it's really important that sometimes we do that. That we don't blast through the results, that we watch a game and we're kind of aware of our opinions throughout the game. Because sometimes that can sort of color what it is you're doing. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, where you'll want to know the results of the GSL, for instance. So you will go look at them and you'll go, oh, no way, that player beat, Fruit Dealer? Oh, I gotta see that. And then when you're watching, you're looking at everything Fruit Dealer does as a potential mistake. You're going, maybe that was bad, maybe that was bad, maybe that was bad. That's okay, that's fine to do if you're really trying to dig deep and figure it out, but gotta do the cold analysis, man. Gotta figure out sometimes what's up without knowing the end result. I actually don't know the end result. I got this in a big set of replays. I have 100 gas from Liberty. Hasn't done anything with it. Now, I actually think this is pretty significant. I'm going to actually ignore this push from Jinro. Even though I love focusing on Jinro and talking about why he's a huge baller, this is actually quite clever. Often on these maps where there's... Actually, I'll just come back and talk about other maps for a moment. Often on a map like Lost Temple, there's a cliff. You're worried about the cliff. Oh my god, the cliff. He can do Thor drops on my cliff. You need to get some sort of fast tech to be able to account for that, right? I'm trying to think of another good example. Maybe even something like... I'm trying to think of Zerg examples for this. But the cliff on Lost Temple is probably the strongest example, so let's just go with that. Where there's one thing you're really worried about, so you kind of obsess about that. Actually, on other maps, what a lot of Zerg players did was they just go, oh my god, I need mutas, oh my god, I need mutas, oh my god, I need overseers, holy cow, I really need overseers for Banshees. So the general trend that Zerg sort of dipped towards was faster layer. That's all of everything I just said is Zerg feels encouraged to faster layer. Now, a lot of times what happens is people will kind of start to slowly break away from that. Like they'll maybe begin doing things like, hey, maybe I can wait a little while before I get my geysers, and then I can go Zergling speed and then layer. Hey, maybe I can wait a little while, get a roach warren, then make some roaches, and then get the layer. But often, what's really clever is to do the in-between thing. Instead of getting a fast layer, or instead of getting fast tech, like fast all sorts of tech, versus no gas, nothing at all, this is a good in-between, getting 100 gas and just pulling out. A lot of Zergs do not do this against Terran. They especially go into autopilot against them. This is fantastic. Hasn't done anything with it yet. Often Zergling speed is a reasonable course of action. And anytime we hit a point like this and we're really looking for what Liberty's motivations were, we want to rewind. Now, you've heard me say this at a minute or two ago. I want to know why players are doing certain things. I want to do a cold analysis. I really genuinely want to know. Why on earth did he wait so long? So it looks like he's picking these off. He sees Marines moving into the front, and now he's pulling them back. And I would actually say, look at that production. We see 8 Zerglings up in the queue up there. 8 Zerglings. Part of me wants to say he felt pressured and then made Zerglings and then thought, well, if I'm making Zerglings, I may as well make them useful Zerglings. Let's make these speed Zerglings. Or another way we like to say it is, if I'm making these Zerglings for defense, I may as well get the speed upgrades, then I can also use them for offense. Slowlings are bad for offense because if it was the wrong time to attack, they just follow you back to your base and kill all your Zerglings, right? That's dangerous. So I'm half on board with this decision that Liberty did. I'm kind of half and half on it. I'm not entirely sure I'm so sold on waiting that long for the Ling speed, but either way, looks like Jinro is doing a usual sort of push. And this is pretty typical of a lot of builds you'll see on this map. It's either straight up expand, wall in, or do a little cutesy push and then expand, or, you know, get really fast banshees and then expand. So Jinro getting all his tech structures up. We see that this one Hellion is starting to poke around. And the big thing that I'm just very, 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 very aware of is, hey, we really could definitely start doing some damage with our speedlings. With our speedlings, we could start doing some damage once our speed finishes. Liberty's making an outrageous amount of overlords. Jinro's still pushing. And one thing that I want to note about this Hellion, now this is classic Jinro stuff that not enough players do, which is to value the life of every single unit. Value every single unit. So let's follow the life story of this Hellion. Let's actually ignore builds for a moment. Normally when I rewind, it's because I want to say something like, look at this timing, look at that timing, why did he do this timing? This time, ignore all the builds. Let's just think about this one Hellion. Let's just look at the life of Mr. Hellion. Mr. Hellion. So he comes in here with this little troop. Now already a lot of people tend to just continue to push and suicide their way in, right? Looks like Jinro led with the Hellion and then kind of judged, no, these Marines are probably going to die if I push. I may as well push back. So now there's a shot going off. Now a lot of people will try to maybe get another shot and then they'll swing back up around, trying to do more scouting. Notice how he values this Hellion's life. There he does some cooking, and this Hellion was actually geared to go out of the base, to exit the base. A lot of times you'll see players curl up into a place where they really will inevitably die. But notice that Jinro advances in a way that his retreat path is always pretty much open. So this little Hellion, again, we're ignoring all this production tab. We're not worried about that at all. He's going to dart back up here again. And notice he moves forward. And how does he pull back? Towards the retreat path. And then he does cut over a little bit more, but then right back to the retreat path. And he's not being really, really aggressive with those timings on the Hellion. QXC made like a timing map where you could really, it's like you'd fire, wait the exact amount of time, fire again, wait the exact amount of time, fire again, and it would tell you whether you were missing it by a few milliseconds or not. But you see Jinro, he fires, waits a little bit. Okay, the cooldown on the firing has totally elapsed. He can easily shoot again, but still pulls back a little bit more. He's not trying to get another shot off as fast as he can. He's trying to get a safe shot off at the first opportunity he can. He's not just going into some sort of rhythm mode where it's shoot, run, shoot, run, shoot, run. It's shoot, run, shoot, run, run, shoot, run, run. You know, trying to get into a good position. Now, let's go back and go into build order mode. So it does look like Jinro is going into somewhat of a normal transition, getting some Banshees. He has his expansion coming up right now, getting the Marines. The Banshee is an increasingly popular decision in this matchup because of the fact that you can really put on some good heat, put on a little pressure. It especially is annoying to these Zerg players who do exactly what Moon is doing, delayed layer. Even if they are doing a fast layer, Banshees are just great units, so it's no big deal, but especially it helps to zone this sort of player. Notice how long, wow, my god, Moon waited an extremely long time before he decided to get any more gas again. He got that Zergling speed and then backed right on off on the gas for ages. Looks like he's going for a third hatch before layer. In fact, in the Wednesday night fight video that you can find at my archives, that's just a little show match series I've been starting, Zelnik did the exact same thing against Kawhi Rice. Really delaying that layer, getting a third base really fast. There's the Banshee coming out. Looks like it's gearing up to do some harassment. Jinro now getting his usual thing. Again, this is normal, right? You heard me say this at the start of the game. How many Terrans have you seen having this setup, right? Pretty early after an expansion, a barracks with a tech lab, 2 barracks with reactors, mariners, and then getting the medevacs. Normal, 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 good, good, yeah. But this got Jinro'd, right? That little push with the Marines and Hellions and the way he controlled that Hellion, very Jinro-esque, doing a little bit of what he thinks is right, and then just smoothly moving back right into this good, solid core. And that is a prime example of style. There's a million and one ways you can play this game, and a million and one ways that work. So trust your style. You can go back and use these sorts of solid cores, but don't be afraid of saying something like, yeah, you know what, I just really like Hellion Marine pushing at the start. It fits well with my brain. So you see all sorts of juicy goodness going down. There's a queen coming up, a queener going down. Uh-oh, is it going to die? No. Jinro on the retreat, other queen popping up, and you're starting to really see the importance of joining your main and your natural together with creep. This Banshee would have been dead if this queen could have gotten there faster, but it couldn't because there's a gap. Ha-ha. There's the Roach Voron getting constructed. There's more gas geysers. In the unit counting station, we see a huge number of drones from Moon. Didn't have to spend any of that money getting that layer fast. Just going ahead and getting the drones, delaying the layer. So let's really see how Jinro ends up doing it. Few other things that we're seeing that are very, very subtle. Very subtle. I'm immediately noticing, hey, we have 3 Hellions out right now. Hey, remember this? Look at this Hellion with 9 kills. A 9-kill Hellion. How did that happen? It was that first friggin' Hellion. It was Mr. Hellion, because I'm not creative at naming units. It was Mr. Hellion at the start of the game that we even rewinded and said, look at how much Jinro is valuing that unit's life. Here it is, it's back home, it's fully repaired, it was at like 14 life or something, and now it's fine. It's alive and it can contribute to the army, which honestly, considering how many Zergs make Zerglings, it's gonna help. Definitely want to be doing a little bit more of that. Every single unit counts. But these extra Hellions, these 2 additional little buddies, are very interesting to me. So now we have another push moving out. I thought it would have been interesting if he left the tank behind, but no, he did not. Just going to go ahead and begin this push out. Now, I really think that a lot of what Moon is doing, even though it's very, very, very modern, like I would call it like hyper-modern sort of style. This is the style that a very small number of good Zergs are doing, which is the very delayed layer, high on expanding, relying a little bit more on the muscular units like roaches instead of cutesy units like the mutalisks. More muscular units like queens even, I would consider a very sort of muscly unit. They're pretty beefy, they can take a lot of hits. No, maybe that's a little bit more cutesy. I don't know, but either way, you get what I'm saying. Making more of the units that you battle things head on. Roaches are good at destroying pushes. They're not good at harassing or something like that. So Liberty is continuing to expand. Liberty, aka Moon. Jinro now advancing forward with this, and you know, these Hellions we're starting to see are having a lot of use. They're advancing really far forward into this movement. I mean, all his troops will be back here, and the Hellions will be advanced, spotting for any Zerglings, and then pulling back. And then we can see a little bit of this sort of action going on. Again, this is so distinctly Jinro in my many years of knowing him, even playing Brood War games with him. This is really a lot like him. To do kind of one of those things where you're like, that's not what you're supposed to do now. You're supposed to only be making Marines and tanks. You Swedish bastard. But of course, he's too lovable. He's much like a cartoon character, or much like, I would actually say, if you ever bought like Frosted Flakes, or perhaps Marshmallow Alphabet Soup, or something like that, and it's like the cereal and it comes with a toy in it, Jinro would be that toy. He's very good at Starcraft and very friendly. So we have tanks coming out, more Marines being produced, and this is again the same theme of let me pull back when I'm not feeling like I'm in the best situation. And look at the work that all of these Hellions are doing, leading the charge. There's that 10-kill Hellion, just getting into good situations. And what I really love about this push is actually how fast it came. A lot of times that is the huge killer of a lot of people's just general builds, is that it will be like, I'm going to harass at the start, and this harassment wants to lead into a bunch of Marines and tanks later. But they'll do harassment at the start, and then boom. Okay, building up, building up, building up, building up, building up, building up. All right, now I have Marines and tanks. And then this huge dip. Zerg is just like drones, 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 drones. But, as we can see, no drones. They didn't even have time to get built. No drones have died, they just haven't gotten the chance to start existing. Look at the money that Liberty's in. He's just in kind of a rough spot. So this push, I'm half and half on. I'm not entirely convinced that that little move was the best, but of course with extra Mariners and tanks moving into the backside, again valuing every unit, trying to scoot the tank back. And look, very nice little move here. Could very well retreat with this. He has a Banshee here, so he can do a little bit more damage, but the Burrow is going to put an end to that. Jinro needs to be a little bit... See, this is actually being a touch wasteful of your units. This is like the danger zone that you don't want to be in. He is trying to do a lot of nice micro, but it can be a little dangerous, because honestly, if Moon had spent that money, this would have crushed. Nothing wrong with pulling those 2 tanks, 3 Marines back, and then grouping up to pick these units up. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Literally cannot be bad. This is not a time-sensitive push on this right base. This is not time-sensitive at all. It looks like the Baneling centrifugal hook is going down. There's some good aggression. And honestly, if Liberty is feeling a lot of heat here, he should really begin expanding here, or maybe even here, and then try to let these spine crawlers and this queen, let this expansion die as slowly as possible. I mean, your expansion is there to gain you money, and if you're investing a ton of money in it, trying to keep it alive, it's actually doing the opposite of helping you. Sometimes it's good to sack it. It's exactly what the little one was talking about in, actually yesterday's Fun Day, or not Fun Day Monday, Friend Day Wednesday, when the little one came on. Because look at Liberty, he's like, I'm ready to unburrow. Oh, shit. No. Oh, Jinro beating him to the punch. Nice burrow techniques. And for any of you who didn't know, I'm actually going to rewind this just a pinch. You can actually see little tiny ripples. Go to the Jinro cam. You see these? See these shadows right here for the burrowed roaches? We're going to see them move as I resume. 3, 2, 1, play. See this little pack of shadows just sort of darkly moving there. And you can kind of notice a little bit of discoloration. It's really hard to see unless you saw the movement before, but I would actually venture to say, yeah, look, this didn't have enough energy to scan. This just had enough energy to scan. So it looks like Jinro saw it, waited until he had 50 energy, and scanned it promptly. That is Gosu times 2. So either way, very good stuff. Roaches are incredibly good. And again, muscular way of dealing with pushes. Not indirect, not mutas trying to pop out, but Zerg meeting it up with roaches, taking expansions early on, taking more expansions, playing the way that Zerg was meant to be played in dem Brood War days, and teching, and having good drone saturation, and making spine crawlers for defense in the main. Zerg's playing actually really well. Really well. I think he could have done a few extra better things with the macro to be able to stay alive against this push. Could also have not been tossing roaches for free. But one thing that I love about what Jinro's doing right here is he is just drilling directly into one location. He's attacking in a location that has an easy reinforced path. Very easy reinforced path. Reinforced path. For many of you who didn't know, I actually had a lisp as a child, and occasionally my mouth wants to make those words. So the reinforced path is awesome. So, and there's the push continuing on. This is another little increasing trend, having the missile turrets to detect, but you'll note that either this missile turret is very prude or it is not finished. We see those missile turrets are very tightly packed together. So it ain't done yet. And Liberty just sort of continuing to expand. We see in the production a lot of roaches going down. Now, I've pretty much only spent time talking about this battle. Look at how he's reinforcing. Look at how slowly he's actually pushing to this expansion. He is sending these troops not here. I would honestly say that half the time of the push is spent from going from the production facilities to here. And then the second half of the push is getting from here to here. And when I say first half, second half, I mean time-wise. Half the time is you kind of walk up to the pushing point, and then from the pushing point to get to his expansion is really long. So a good player, what he'll do, so here's the pushing point, here's the expansion we want to hit, here's the main, so the good player ends up sending units up, ends up hitting this reinforced, or the pushing point, and then starts inching forward just slowly there. And this is a huge battle. This is like 5 minutes of time here. This is like instantaneous. This is really easy, but this little tiny distance is huge. And that is really a classic mistake of the newer player, or just the less experienced with aggression player. He will try to be sending units to here to attack, and then he'll get surrounded here. And then he'll send a new small group of units up to here to attack. No, Jinro's getting here, and he's inching forward. He has been here for so long, and look, now just gently approaching now that he has a good solid amount of units, and now pushing up. And the counterattack by Liberty ensues. Now, I want to do something that is, of course, very Day 9-esque. I want to stop at this moment. This is where some really exciting things can happen. But there were two really veins of interest going on throughout this game, right, as we rewind it back. You heard me say that this is the normal stuff, right? This is the usual mix. We have one barracks getting with a tech lab, getting our Marines and Marauders upgraded. We have these other two barracks with our reactors, getting our upgrades. Looks like he got a +1 infantry weapon really fast. So what I would say is these are the core 6 buildings. These are so core. It is so important that you understand that there is a point where you have this. I'm looking around for anything else. No, that is the core. I am going to put a stake in the ground right now and say a good Terran player will, a lot of the times, hit a point where he will have 3 barracks, 1 with tech lab, 2 with reactors, 1 factory with a tech lab, and 1 starport without anything, and an eBay upgrading. That is a good set of 6 units. 3 barracks, or excuse me, 6 buildings. 3 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport, 1 engineering bay. Remember those 6. Because if you're Terran and you put that stake in the ground and say, I want to get to that point every game, suddenly your builds will have so much more clarity. Suddenly they will seem so clear what it is you need to do. Well, sure, I can do Banshee Harass, and I need to get those barracks eventually, and, well, I guess I have a lot of gas, so I guess I'm going to throw down my engineering bay now. Well, okay, if I open up 3 barracks and Marine, then I want to get a factory and tanks, and then I want to get a starport, and I could probably have gotten my engineering bay a little earlier in there. You begin to start to reorder things in your head. And by the way, I'm not saying if you want to do something totally different, like if you want to mech, or if you want to go mass Marines in the way that Kawhi Rice goes mass Marine, that's fine. But I'm saying this is solid. This is a solid, good way to play, and it's these numbers that are the important part for the mid-game. I'm going to say it again. 3 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport, 1 engineering bay. Anytime you do an opening, say to yourself, how do I get to these 6 buildings? Because if you know that this is a point that you always get to, not only is that early game helping to have a lot more flow to it, but afterwards, now I'm going to begin saying, and what are some clever ways we could transition out of this? Like for me, I'm much more of a mass marining player. I like doing my fancy Foxer micro. I like the amount of aggression I can do. I like doing a lot of stuff with medevacs. So I would probably get to those key 6 buildings and then say, add on a command center, 2 more barracks with reactors, another eBay, and a reactor to my starport. Cool. I can do those sorts of things, and I'm interested because back home it looks like Jinro is opting to get a very fast second factory. Now, there is a battle going on up here. This is the battle that I spent a lot of time referring to. But we're really going to look here in Jinro's base and see exactly what's going on. I'm speeding things up a little bit until we get to that 15-minute and 34-second mark. Uh-oh, a little bit of queuing going on. These 3, if they're removed, we have over $1,000. More unit-producing structures need to be made, so that's fine. I don't so much care about when they get made right now. Obviously, whatever gets made could be made sooner. What I'm really asking myself is, what gets made in what order? Okay, he's going for a second factory fast. Okay, that's interesting. Could quite possibly be a response to the roaches, but it looks like he's getting a second factory and then 1 barracks, and is he getting anything else? I'm not seeing anything else quite yet. Still not at that 15-minute and 34-second mark. Remember, here's some of these battles going on here. That's great. Here's the pushing point where he's trying to get to here and then inch his way up. Just want to remind about that. But back here, Jinro, what are you doing? What are you doing? Again, these are the core 6 buildings that I saw at the start. Wondering, okay, so here's the next phase of this. This really, to me, seemed like one phase. Have all these 6 things. Bring some SCVs up to the front. Okay, cool. So this is the way I break this down in my mind. So I want to begin with the middle game first. these 6. These are the 6 that I saw. There's queuing here. I don't like queuing. Whatever. I'm going to ignore that for now. And then the next thing he does is factory, 2 more barracks, and a command center. Great. Ain't that easy? Ain't that easy? Cool. So I'm going to repeat to you exactly what I see from the mid-game to the later part after that. Those key 6 buildings, and then factory, 2 barracks, 1 command center. Cool! You know what? I don't practice a lot of Terran versus Zerg, but that's okay because now I know some great just benchmarks to have. If I'm at a point where I have like a lot of money and I have my core 6, I'm just going to go, oh yeah, well I better get that factory and 2 barracks and that command center because it's the next thing on the list. Isn't that easy? Ain't that easy? That is so awesome. That is so easy. Or let's say, like I was saying earlier, you're one of those mass marining players like me, all right? I'm the sort of player who really loves getting something like this going on 2 bases. 5 barracks, 1 engineering bay, and a reactor starport. These are like my core buildings. And now I can say something like, well, hey, once I start getting that command center, I should really begin investing in 2 factories. Exact same eventual point that Jinro hits to, but it's that reordering that creates some very nice, neat, cool styles, and it looks like Jinro was spending so much time microing up here that the macro ended up slipping. So let's return back down to regular, good old happy speed, and just look at the way that this game's playing out. That was an awesome move right there by Moon. Splitting up those roaches. Burrow is very strong, counterattacking a huge threat. So all of a sudden, I'm thinking at this stage in the game that again, this is the first time viewing it, I'm thinking to myself, sometimes this is where your build goes out the window. Sometimes this is where we got to go into crisis management. Other times we still kind of have a build order to ourselves. But it looks like Jinro still has a few forces up here where he's trying to push. I really am liking this Burrow antics. But gosh, did those do damage. Wow, look at that. 8 kills, 5 kills. 6 kills, 8 kills, 4 kills, 7 kills. Yeah, I'm probably going to call this your build order going out the window. This ain't going well at all. I mean, does he even have any scan? He's going to have to get a tech lab at that reactor. Oh, or a tech lab at the starport. This was way more devastating than I would have thought. This was absolutely brilliant play by Moon, who of course has a trust fund this game. Trust fund, look at that money. 2,000, 1,500. Oh, baby, baby. Still things in the main. Has this command center. Yeah, your build order is getting thrown out the window. Now, let's just stop and, well, actually, let's continue because I've stopped a lot. You heard me say, okay, build order goes out the window. And I spent so much time talking about this core amount of units. So, for the most part, Marines are like the important unit in the early game, right? Pushing with 6 tanks and 3 Marines, like, loses to everything in Terran Reserve, right? That's terrible. But pushing with, like, 18 Marines and no tanks is pretty damn good. Don't forget about these things. Really, in crisis management mode, sure, your build's fucked and you can't do it anymore, but let's be honest. I'm low on economy. Marines were really good when I was low on economy in a normal game at the start. Sure, they're still going to be good in low economy situations here in this point in time at the end. So honestly, if I started to lose a lot of my workers and wasn't really able to macro as well, I would probably focus on making things out of these structures. Or I might even just focus on my barracks play, if that is something that I like doing in small numbers. But in the meantime, Jinro's doing some very smart things. Anytime there's a lot of pressure on you, you want to be able to put pressure back. Whoopsie daisy for not unloading it first. Go, Jinro! This is really the hallmark of an expert player, because most Zergs in Moonspot do this sort of burrow garbage, thinking, oh, thank God, I finally have them off my back, time to make drones. No, Jinro's not allowing you to do that. Killing off the overlords, that's awesome. He is having a little bit of problem accessing a lot of these drones because of this one spine crawler, so he's going to go for some guaranteed damage, picking off overlords. Really can never, ever be bad to pick those off. So Jinro is now officially behind. He sees a ton of Banelinks. We see some tanks getting made by Jinro. We see these upgrades. I would really say that Moon is in a much better spot. Here come all the roaches. Here come all the roaches. Infestation pit going down, upgrades going down. Still just sort of buying time. No Mutilus, in particular no Scourge, because that's from the other game. So yeah, just doing this sort of business, buying himself time, is allowing him to build himself back up. That is one of the greatest ways to sort of repel aggression. Only a +1 upgrade out. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I'm just so boring. Jesus, couldn't help but yawn. So we do have Moon. Looks like he's trying to track down these dropships, but I think he's doing an excellent job of hiding them. Liberty probably should be reinvesting and expanding. There it goes. And, you know, one thing that I think is really important to note, a lot of times when you are really down in the dumps, right, you just lost all your SCVs and all this stuff, there's often that one magical unit that if you have a lot of, rule, like a critical mass unit. For Zerg, Infestors. Once you hit enough Infestors, you're kind of safe, right? He can't exactly push you. Or if you're Protoss, once you get enough Colossi, it's hard to break that attack. With Terran, once you get enough tanks, it's hard to really break your push force. So you heard me say that, oh, if my economy's screwed, I go for Marines. Yeah, I go for Marines and a lot of aggression. I really try to pierce at them. I'm going to try to avoid the normal flow of play. I'm going to just kind of work with what I have. But another amazing alternative is what I call saving up for the one-punch attack. Right? You're screwed. You're obviously behind on food. Let's build up our magic holy one-time please unit and then push out when we have a lot of those bad boys, right? In this case, it's tanks. I got screwed over. I lost almost everything. I was on the verge of losing. I clearly am behind my opponent. I'm like 25 food behind, so I am going to mass up tankies, and I'm going to try to push out nice and slow and unpenetrably. But notice that same care taken with these medevacs, not suiciding in, saying, oh, maybe if I land here and target fire this hatchery, or maybe if I land here and stim and put the Marauders, right, all the Banelings will crash, but I'll get a more efficient amount of damage done based upon monetary analysis, blah, blah, blah. No. No, no, no. Jinro's just saying, better keep these units alive, because keeping a unit alive is always good. Now watch how Jinro's going to do this. I have not seen this game, and I guarantee you that this is very, very unlikely to be a push. He's probably going to start sieging once he gets up on the high ground, and he is going to begin. Yep, he's going to begin methodically advancing forward. Now I want you to know that there was no psychic work that went on here, right? This is just a very simple fact. Jinro felt very, 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 very behind, and he's still waiting for a critical mass of tanks to do a giganto push. He will try to put as much pressure on as he can, but this is really just buying time, so he had better keep those damn units alive. Oh, goodness, I am boring. Oh, man, am I dull. All these overlords have banelings in them. Alright, looks like it ended up being safe. That's the one thing that kind of bugs me, is I was like, what's going on in here? So now it looks like we have one medevac moving back. Jinro, still trying to gear up, is just sort of taking vision control. Not doing a lot with these. When is he going to try to retreat? The instant he's under the risk of taking like any damage at all. And oh no! Oh, infested Terrans, please don't take down the medevac. That's always like the worst feeling in the world, because infested Terrans like don't actually move. But this is a lot of what Terrans are doing nowadays. I'm going to mass tanks, and then I'm going to slowly dart out with Marine and Marauder forces and try to draw you back to the tanks. Now I hit the B button on accident, but that's okay. I guess we're going to rewind. Yep, looks like more little counterattack paths. What did I say right at the start of the game? These backdoors are not a big deal early game. They're a big deal late game. Late game. Because again, this is not a very long, or is a pretty long path, and also Jinro has to retreat from his front if he wants to defend his back, and the front is almost always where the important things are going on. But this is very clever, this little delay here, but still very obnoxious. The big thing I'm wondering in Camp Jinro, or really focusing on, is this interaction between what these dropships have been doing and with all this business at the front. Now notice that Moon has been very uncomfortable doing anything for a long time. He's been very uncomfortable moving out. This is probably the first little poke he's done, and it was enough to distract Jinro from forgetting about these two medevacs. Like 5 seconds after those medevacs are no longer a threat, full-on onslaught mode. This is what Jinro is trying to delay as long as possible. Infested Terrans surrounding the planetary fortress. Oh, crap. Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, Overlords pooping out Banelings. And the poop was just too much for the planetary fortress, so it got taken down. Time to frown. Now, ordinarily, we would say something like Jinro is dead right now. Jinro is screwed. Now, the correct decision is for this orbital command to actually go here. That is where that really needs to go. He's going to land and he's going to mine this up, but, I mean, this is the safest place to be right now. Oh, yeah, I guess he's moving his orbital command from his main up there. And here comes the, oh my god, one-time please pray push. This is half panic mode and half good planning. It will sometimes put you in a situation where, well, shit, I really better attack now or else I'm dead. You know, like, I gotta win with this attack. Classic examples are when you lose every one of your workers, when you weren't expecting, and you're just going, well, good luck me. Yay! But, again, what did I say is a good strategy? Get those units that are so good when you have a lot of them. Tanks, Colossi, yeah, get those units. And now, when Jinro's really in a pinch, he just lost his front base, he just got ravaged at his back base. Oh, time to do the, oh my god, please work push. But he has these tanks, so it ends up being a little bit more okay. His composition made sense at this point in time. So here comes the tankies doing so much damage. And he is pushing straight, right? Not doing any try to sneak around garbage, keeping that reinforced path defended. That is impossible not to lisp. So he's slowly inching forward with these tanks. There's the stim. He's going to want to target fire, but it looks like he doesn't have time to. Yeah, so he's going to spread those guys out. Here's everything of all sorts being thrown in there. And a lot of this is kind of like, I hope my tank works, I hope my tanks work, I hope this is working out well. And you know what? It did work out well. Hey, that ended up working out quite nicely for our Terran buddy. Look at the food differentials. Much better than before. 66 versus 82. 20 instead of 80. I guess it was 22 instead of more like 60. But still, a much needed improvement. Now, there's one good thing and one bad thing. The good thing is, hey, our strategy of making a lot of tanks worked. We managed to save ourselves by forcing Zerg to attack at a bad angle. If Zerg was able to attack at a good angle, we would have lost. We would have been smashed. But again, tankies, come on! You got to be against a real patient Zerg who doesn't fall for that sort of garbage, who really waits and pinches things at good angles. But the downside is, there are like 12 tanks in that push, and now there's 2 tanks on the map, so can't really do any of that business. Suddenly, after that push, Terran is feeling really passive. Now is a little bit more reasonable of a time to do one of 2 things. One, push crazy aggressively like this, and hope that he's low on Banelings, hope he's low on Infestors. Really be methodical and slow with these pushes. Again, the tanks are very good if you're slow. Or he could go back to turtling, trying to get another 15 tank force and just do harassment with those dropships. Nice little burrow tech going on there. Some good little Jinrovio micro. A little bit low on scan. It happens when you're as boring as I am. Oh, goodness, man. I can hardly stay awake listening to myself talk. I don't know how you guys put up with it. My sincerest apologies. Woo! So, Jinrovio, doing a very smart thing. Now, just for the record, I want to just say something that I've said before. Why push along this left lane? Here's the right lane, but why push along this left lane? Why not here, along this path? Why not go attack here, along this path? Why is he pushing here? Alright, I'll let you think a little bit. I'm going to drink water so that way you can see my Adam's apple just go crazy. Here, I'll even let you listen in. Oh, so good. Alright, cool. You had some time to think. Perfect. Let's compare answers. I would just like to say for the record, I'm right. Bam! So, Jinro's pushing here because of a couple of reasons. One, this expansion is right here. By pushing here, he is directly in the path of hitting this expo. Perfect. Why is he not moving down this one? Well, if he moved down this way, he would again leave this way vulnerable, open to an attack from the front, an attack from the front. The fact that there's an expansion here is only somewhat important. Pushing up the front when you're in a spot like this makes a lot of sense, because if we start pushing this way, two things happen. This Expo becomes really vulnerable, but so does this attack path into our main and this swing around path at the back door. This is as in the way of all of Zerg's attacks as it possibly can. This even leaves this left flank a little bit too open. But this left flank we were worried about, this right flank we were worried about, gets a little bit covered in the middle. And in particular, Zerg is so focused here, he doesn't even have time to swing around to the backside. We want to... Oh, and the other big reason is, hey, it's the easiest spot to reinforce on the map. The number one easiest. If we end up kind of running over here, he can easily pinch off reinforcements in between. Cannot pinch off any reinforcements. Our army is always one big solid blob he's against. He can never isolate. Very, very awesome. Totally awesome. More units springing forth. Great, cool. Again, the dart forward. I'm going to keep these tanks back here. Not unsieging the tanks, not going crazy with them. He's going to back up because, oh no, there's some more units here. Well, I'll just pull back to these tanks to kill those off. And then I'll regroup with more units because my reinforced path is protected. My reinforced path. Moon doing some smart stuff. Thought he was expanding there, but doesn't look like it. Moon is also trying to get up this expansion, trying to do a lot of good work there. But, oh, this is so good. More positive unit control from Jinro in all this. Just doing a lot of awesome stuff. Just darting out with a couple of units. And look at him being very decisive about where he attacks. There was one clear push at the right side at the start of the game when this expansion didn't exist. And then once this expansion existed, clear decisive pushes through the middle. Great, he's hollowed out the middle. What would be a great place to push? Still through the middle towards the main. Again, you want to cut off as many paths back to your vulnerable spots, to your bases, as you possibly can. And you want to keep those reinforced paths open. Not a lot of units going to be coming from the right side of the map, just one hatchery. So he pushes really, really, really far up here and then cuts back. That is the most common tactic. When you have two places you want to hit, get between them, and then go for one of them. Jinro pushed all the way up here, and because he knew he could push those units back, and then he cuts back. A cutting in between two bases. Want to do a lot of cutting in. That's one of the biggest mistakes that players who are really trying to do some high-level magic don't realize, is that they really need to do more cutting in between bases. They finish hitting one base and they say, here's my next target, and they sprint to it. Wrong overlay. Alright, cool. I want to look at one last thing. Apparently I am removing every single overlay except the one I desire. Perfect. Let's actually rewind back, not to here, maybe to that 20-minute mark when our big tanky force was trying to do some cool business. Oh, I guess it was even a little bit later than that. Alright, we're at 24 minutes. Let's actually just sit in this base and look at production. So it looks like, just noting the minimap, there's that big push coming. We still see 2 tanks getting made at a time. And that's probably the big thing I'm going to be looking for, is the ratio of these Marinis versus the tanks. And it looks like that as the tank numbers get lower, look at that. More Marines and Marauders are getting made. No tanks have been made for a while. Still no tanks getting made. 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 We're almost done with the game. Medevacs, oh wow, really, wow, he completely stopped tank production. Isn't that useful to know? How many of you wouldn't have picked up on that? Me, I definitely wouldn't have. I certainly would have. You can't even see off camera. Here, I'll even sit down. Me, I would not have seen it. Right? Seriously, holy crap, no tanks. Now remember, what did I say? When you're in a really intense position where you're low on units, you really have one of two options. One is to go for the huge, gigantic Giga Death Push, which is, again, the huge tanks. Or we can kind of stay low on Marines and Marauders because those are fast and snappy, and those allow us to get around places, allow us to be mobile. So Jinro, who was feeling screwed, said, all right, I'm going to get some huge-ass push, so that way I can secure a third base. But as the push is coming, still same basic idea going on. Holy crap, I'm low on tanks. I'm actually just low on food. I'm around 66, 70 food. That means I'm only going to be making lots and lots and lots and lots of those fast units, Marines and Marauders, Marines and Marauders. Too often, people get stuck in build order mindset where they say, well, first I make Marines, and then I make Marines and medevacs, and then I make Marines and medevacs and tanks, and whenever I have money, I go back to my base and I go Marine, 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 tank, medevac. And they literally go in that order. Just spend money as they get it on those three things in a completely even distribution. But as we've seen, the tanks are working great once our armies are getting big. Once they start getting small, screw you, tanks. Only Marines, Marauders all the time. That is so important, that rise and fall. A lot of builds open up with Marines and Marauders and go into tanks, not because it's good to do in a general build order sense. The real reason is that Marines and Marauders work well in small numbers, and then the tanks work well in the medium to the large numbers. So that means if things start going awry, go back to the Marines. That means if you're in the early game, go back to the Marines. That means if you're in the late game and you're getting a ton of bases and armies, don't get so many Marines. Get them tankies. Get them tankies. Distribution of those things. So let us take a little bit of questionings right now. Actually, this daily has been going on for 55 minutes, so we'll actually just take dos cuestionos. So let us divine here. Okay, here's a great question from Caseman984, who says, Dear Day 9, I've been trying to get a look a lot like Jinro's in this game, but I'm having a hard time finding a good trigger for the first expansion while still feeling safe. When do you think it's a good time to expand other than when attacking? Now, to be honest, one of the first questions I always ask myself on a map is, how hard is my third base to take? Let me think of an example of a map with an easy-to-take third. Steps of War. Probably the easiest to take third in the game. That's the one that's really standing out. I'm trying to think of any even come close to that. Such an easy third. You take it, it's on a high ground, everything is kind of tucked back. You only have two entrances, and they're narrow. It's easy, right? Really easy to take. So in those circumstances, you can actually take that third quite, I like to say, cutely. You know, like doing something like, well, I'm just going to make cannons and 3 Dark Templar and sentries, and I can actually defend all these bases. Yeah. But let's take a map like Blistering Sands. That map is fucking impossible to take a third. It drives me bonkers. Anytime your third is really difficult to take, the only way that you can defend it is with powerful 2-base armies. So for instance, on a cute note, let's say you were going for your big money 6, right? You were going for your 3 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport, 1 engineering bay. Those were the key 6. On a cute map like Steps of War, you can expand after you get that cute little mix. On a map like Jungle Basin, the thing that's really going to help is getting the factory and the extra barracks, so that way you're at like 2 factories and 4 barracks, and then expanding once you're starting to really push out. So the good time to take the third really has to be not just when you're attacking, but when you're attacking and you have a big damn army, like a big, big army. Let's actually rewind and see the 2 times that Jinro felt comfortable expanding. One was right when he was feeling this advantage. He was gearing up to take an expand right now because he had this kind of big-ass army. But then these roaches came in. Oh no! So he's not feeling safe expanding. He's not feeling safe expanding. When does he feel safe expanding? When he has another big, gigantic-ass army consisting of 1 million tanks. That's when he expands. You need a lot of units. So for any of you having struggles with some sort of extra basing on Jungle Basin, I would recommend don't expand at a time similar to that you do on other maps. Don't expand at the same time you do on Steps of War. Expand a lot later. If you like going 4-gate, 1 robo, and then taking a third, try going 6-gate, 1 robo, and then taking a third, and then come back and ask the question. One more question. One more question. I should take 2 more. Hopeless39 says, Day 9, do you think if Moon had macroed better and transitioned into anything after the roaches, he could have won? Yes. Yes. And based on all the reasons that I'm almost certain that everyone has that intuition about. So let's see here. So, Helson631 says, Dear Day 9, one of the issues that Terrans are facing in Terran vs. Zerg seem to be the buildup of Banelings. As I thought Jinro would do this game, it would obviously be advantageous to drop single Marines and Marauders on Baneling Balls with Medivacs. That's something that Star Life wanted to tag as the Star Life drop, so I'll give it to them. They're Star Life dropping, just unloading those units to just waste the Banelings. The one thing I will say about that, though, is too often players want a cute way to deal with Banelings. Really, the best way to deal with Banelings is to accept the fact that the Banelings are probably going to be killing a lot of your shit. In particular, a lot of those Marines. What was Foxer's response? And I'm going to answer this, and I'm not actually joking when I say this. Foxer's logic was, if I have 100 Marines and you have a lot of Banelings, you'll kill maybe 3/4 of my Marines, but that last quarter Marines will win me the game. That is a completely understandable logic. Or saying something like, I am going to try to make tanks and spread them out and minimize and get the Marines behind the Marauders and maybe minimize the damage of the Banelings. It's still going to happen. And for the most part, pretty much any mix of units can deal quite well with the Banelings. But you have to have good positioning, good fundamentals, good minimap watching, and in particular, attacking along good lanes at good times. Not being overeager. Being very, 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 very cautious. Banelings actually force the game down very similar lanes to Lurkers in Brood War, where it's kind of like you'd get to a point and you'd kind of go, okay, I got to siege up, and I got to kind of slowly start clawing my way forwards, because if I unsiege and try to sprint, he's going to just crunch me with Banelings when I'm all clustered up. So have patience with the Banelings, not the techniques, but you want that mindset of patience, spreading things out, because almost no matter what unit mix you get, there are good, effective ways of dealing with those Banelings. So without any further ado, it's been, damn, I'm 51 seconds over limit for the daily. But either way, Facebook page, facebook.com/day9tv. Please join for me. And then Fun Day Monday, for not this Monday, because I'm going to be in Sweden, but at this bad boy. For next Fun Day Monday, send me a replay of you guys attacking every 5 minutes. Take everything you have, not including workers, and attack every 5 minutes. And sure, you can leave the queen behind. And sure, I don't care if you get there at 5 minutes or if you, leave your base at 5 minutes. But come on, every 5 minutes, attack. And let's see some crazy funny timing pushes come out of that. Or even some crazy clever timing pushes come out of that. For Newbie Tuesday, I want you Terran buddies to send me a replay at Tuesday at day9.tv of a Protoss player early expanding, such as a 1-gate early expand, or 2-gate early expand, or a 1-gate 1-robo early expand, and you trying to crack it early, but you just can't quite. Send that to Tuesday at day9.tv. Done! See you Sunday, guys! See you Sunday!